Fiscal deficit. This is one of the most common issue discussed not only for India but also for every country. Fiscal deficit means it is a gap between the revenues and spending. Means the gap between the revenue earned by the government, revenue received by the government, and spending. And when the gap is more, when the spending is more than the revenue, that is called fiscal deficit. And this fiscal deficit is met by that overspending, it met by borrowing. Otherwise, there will be no sufficient financial resources with the government in the form of revenues. Then the government will borrow funds from public or from banks or borrow funds and use for spending as per requirement. Indian fiscal deficit, let us see what is Indian fiscal deficit position for the first quarter starting from April 2022 to June 2022, consisting of period of 3 months, April, May and June of 2022. The central government's fiscal deficit reached to 21.2% of the total year's budget 2022 to 2023. That is nearly 21% of fiscal deficit for 3 months was for the period first quarter of April, May and June 2022. The tax revenues at the end of first quarter, that is June 30th, 2022, was rupees 5,06,000 crores. That is 22% higher than previous year's quarter. Non-tax revenues reduced by 51% compared to last year, compared to last quarter of the previous year. This is the reduction in non-tax revenue is due to lower surplus transferred by the Reserve Bank of India, which pulled down the overall revenue deficit that grew by 5.2%. So for the first quarter, the revenue deficit stood at 5.2%, and for the same corresponding period of April 2022 to 30th June 2022, the total expenditure of Indian government stood at 9.48 lakh crores, which is 24% of the full year budget. It means first quarter means 3 months means it is nearly 25% of out of 25%. 24% is for the first quarter. That is total expenditure of 9,48,000 crores. This includes the capital expenditure of 1.75 lakh crores, which was increased by 57% compared to last year's same quarter. Revenue expenditure was increased by 9% compared to last year's quarter of the same period. This may be due to the increase in administrative cost, increase in interest payments, or other committed expenditure. Now, what is the projected fiscal deficit for India for the year 2022 and 2023? India's fiscal deficit is projected at 6.4% of GDP for the year 2022 to 2023, as against 6.7% of the previous year 2021 and 2022. So compared to last year 21-22 fiscal deficit, current year's fiscal deficit is expected to be lower than the previous 6.7 to expected to reduce to 6.4% of GDP. This is a good signal, but this is not of course this may be a good beginning, but there should not be a fiscal deficit at all. There should be a surplus for efficient government. That should be the idea of every government. There should be a surplus, it is not deficit. That should be the policy of the government, to have surplus rather than having fiscal deficit.